material. There's a gesture towards the object, a movement on the object, a motion with the material. There's a pause, a rotating gaze, years of observing, black holes into a minute, final project, idiosyncratic. If I give it to you or you buy it from me, it doesn't make you a materialist. Materialism is an ugly word. Materials shaped by nimble and inspired hands, hands that know and never know is beauty. There's movement, there's an object, there's material, there's a gesture.
So today we're just gonna sort of go over stuff that we've been doing the last few weeks when people catch up. So this week we'll make our second mug with the handle, and we'll make our second slab or box plate. That in case let people kind of get caught up on these things and stuff and do stuff that we've already done. So you can, on your second slab mug, think about trying something different, see if it works. It's what I did. I'm still sort of looking for that perfect shape, and like we talked last week about, I have found the texture I like using the sort of brick planter box that's outside the classroom, and I figured out a way I like to glaze it where I can leave as much of this sort of exposed as possible with a little oxide wash to kind of highlight the texture, and then just have some glaze on the handle and lip and inside places where you want it to be more comfortable. So this time I decided to go with a shorter foot ring. Right, I had the slab on the bottom, but I put a shorter foot ring. So I cut the strip, instead of 1 inch wide, I cut it 1/2 inch, so it's not so tall. And then on the rectangle that I cut to sort of wrap it, I added just 1 inch. So I went 12 inches instead of 11 inches. So right now it seems a little bit big, but hoping that with the shrinkage and after the couple of firings from bisque and glaze that it'll be a good size. So we'll see. And if not, then I'll try 11.5 inches next time. But what I really wanted to be able to do is, while making it, is be able to get my hand inside here comfortably without distorting the lip, and being able to smooth the inside a little bit better. So that's kind of why I wanted to make it a little bit bigger. So those were my things to sort of do a little bit of change on the thing to see what would happen. So something for you all to think about too. Maybe you don't like that foot on there, so don't put that. Just get the bottom slab on there and leave it like that, and just have the cup. Maybe try a different texture. Maybe try a different size, whatever you sort of think you should do. So I will let that dry, and of course when I dry these pieces, I like to dry them upside down. So I'll have a loose cover over this now that it's sat totally wrapped for a couple of days actually. Then the other thing that we were working on this is on our box plates here, is another thing to do on these edges. So there's tools that people make, these edger tools, and these things work really great. So I can take the smaller side and I can just go and follow that along, drag, be real continuous, and cut out just like we were sort of doing the knife, and I get a nice sort of piece that actually was going to work as a great foot. And then I like to always come back with something, could be just my fingers, but put a little pressure back down. The seam is right in here, so I always want to make sure that I put some pressure down so this slab is pushing back on that sort of vertical wall there. And and so real fast and real easy, I got this sort of smoothed out and got a really nice edge. Now the problem is, you guys don't have this at home. So how do you do it with something that you already have at home? So We know we can cut clay with dental floss. You also were all in your bags given this popsicle stick with this piece of fishing wire tied to it. So I can use that. So, but I want to measure and cut some lines here. So I measured this before, and what I found is that it's a 1/2 inch. It comes over a 1/2 inch, comes down a 1/2 inch, and that's what that angle that cuts. And that's fine for not cutting all the way through. All right? So if I just go and measure 1/2 inch, put a few measurements here from the edge. And then I have 3 spots there. So now I need to draw a line. Now, some of these are curved, so I can't really just draw a straight line. But if I go back to the template I was using, which was this, and I can use that. So this was relatively straight on this side, but I will go and draw that line. Just a little bit of a line so I can see it. And then, of course, down along here, I'm going to also go and measure that 1/2 inch. Make sure that's right there. And sort of go back and, double check that indeed we got about a 1/2 inch there. So once I have that, I could again use this to kind of mark. Take my little paper clip here and kind of draw my line through there. And then what I'm going to do is carefully and methodically hold this at an angle and hold my fishing line tight, right? And then just come along and just try to be just short maybe of that line on both sides as I come through. And you want to sort of be continuous when you go through. You don't want to really start and stop if you can avoid it. Sometimes it happens, right? But you really want to be sort of continuous. So I'm going to pull back towards myself because I can kind of see that better, right? And this might move, so it might be easier if I kind of put it up against myself if I needed to. But it may be grabbing the table, depending on what surface you're using. So I'm going to try to keep this at this sort of angle, and it's basically a 45-degree angle. And just put some weight on it, my hand here, and just come along, try to kind of be continuous. It's not really all that easy, but we can do it. And then I have a pretty decent piece that came off that I can use for foot. It's not totally perfect, but that's what I'll use this for, is I'll come back with my old health card here that now has become a ceramic tool, and just maybe scrape off a little bit towards that line if I was short, really just to kind of get this end there even. And then I can come back. If I need to dip my finger in a little bit of water to get that a little smoother, I want to sort of put some pressure down again to that seam. Now I have this really nice edge. Still might need a little bit of work here and there, but it's okay. And then what's great about these, like we kind of talked about before, is I can bend them to the curve that might be there naturally. And I want to have them be slightly in. And then that way we have this visual as it sort of sits down, where we have this sort of edge and then comes in another edge, and it's a real fine sort of point. So we can just have just a little bit of an edge here with no glaze on it. We can glaze the rest of the piece. So I will cut this, and I'm looking at this line again, so I want to cut that so it's down so that edge kind of matches. And then make my mark, know where I need to score, pop that off. Come back and just go the other angle, so I cross hatch. And maybe just run some lines through all that. Come back here, score that up. And then I like to put a decent amount of water on there, right? So that when I sort of shift that and squeeze that and push that into place, there'll be some that squeezes out. And I'll use that to kind of polish and seal that edge. And then put a little bit of a rounded spot right on there. Anyway, nice foot. Now this particular shape seems like it really wants to have just two. And it may have a little wobble when it comes out of the glaze fire, but I'll just figure out where the high point is on one of these and grind a little bit here and there of the stone or on the concrete until it sort of gets so it's not you know, a little wobble. It just kind of looks better than trying to do the three, you know, which you could do a couple little corners like that and then one piece here or something. But this just looks so nice that I just prefer to do it that way. So I just need to kind of set that thing on there and then finish my top edges a little bit, right? Remember, we want to go back through and maybe take the back of the knife we're using, or really any tool, to kind of just scrape a little bit off and then come back and sort of round that. And then also on the inside here too, right, I'm making sure that that little coral I put in on the verticals and along here, I really smooth in and try to hide so that you can't tell that anything was done. Now there's a nice sort of rounded edge in there that'll help me sort of clean it later after use, right? And you know, not all that long ago, I was whittling. Now, some of you don't know what whittling is, but I'm going to show you. So we used to do a lot of whittling when I was young. And so you just kind of, you know, take a stick. It's something that you might have been just doing mindless, you know. And so kind of getting rid of the spark. So one day when I was whittling, kind of trying to make a tool, you know, a piece of wooden tool or something we could use to, you know, clay, and I was thinking about these box plates that we're doing and what would be really a good thing for their use. You know, lots of things could be. You could just have that on your dresser, and maybe that's the place you put your keys and your phone and that kind of stuff at the end of the day. You know, spare change, your wallet, whatever else you might be carrying. And I was thinking, you know, what kind of food would I eat in there? And then I remembered that not all that long ago, there was a day I went out fishing. And so out in the ocean, my kayak kind of not too far from shore, but just, you know, a little bit out looking for fish. And I had brought lunch with me, but I forgot half of it. So all I had brought was my rice. And the other container that had some curry in it, I must have left somewhere on the table inside the house or something as I was getting ready. So I was thinking, oh, what am I gonna have for lunch? I'm gonna be out here for a while. But I had just caught a yellowfin with tuna. And they're the best when they're fresh, and you don't cook them, you actually just slice them and stuff like that. And so I thought, well, I can eat this, but I didn't have any utensils with me either. I'd forgotten everything, and I thought, boy, if I had a couple sticks, like I could whittle, I could make something where I could grab the food, the rice and the fish or something. But instead, what I did is I saw there was seaweed all over the place. It's growing out there naturally, then the kelp. And so I grabbed some seaweed, I dried it out in the front of my boat, and then I put the rice in there later. And once it was nice and dry, and I put the yellow fin that I'd sliced up, and I wrapped that up in this sort of nice sort of seaweed rice fish wrap, And you just ate it like a burrito. It was fantastic. I didn't really need any utensils. But I thought, boy, it should be really nice to make something like that. Get it real tight and slice it up. And then, have something that you can dip it in some kind of salty or spicy, sauce or something like that. And then maybe even use, the couple of sticks I will as these food grabbers, to eat it. And I thought, that's great. And people might actually like it. It was actually really fantastic. So I finished a couple of my sticks that I had whittled down, and made them nice and sort of to a point. And then I made that again. I dried some more seaweed and got rice and put some different things in there, some fish and greens and some other sort of things and stuff. And I thought seaweed just perfect. Now I haven't really figured out the best way maybe to hold them. Do we hold them like this, or it'd be easier if it was just in one hand, and you could just grab it like that. Of course, though, the reality is actually it's really a lot easier just to pick up this seafood dish I created, really, and it really is mostly seafood. Primarily, you have seaweed and you have some fish in there and stuff. And so this, nice sort of seaweed, rice, fish wrap, and whatever else you might want to put in there, and then you kind of, have it all there, and you slice it nice, and it's a nice little like finger food basically. It's just fantastic. You guys should try it out. Just go get yourself some seaweed and some fish and other stuff and whatever you like, and put it in there. It'd be just fantastic. This is good. I think I could really make a lot. I mean, I think people would like this if I create a little restaurant or something like that. I was thinking maybe like a little food truck, maybe somewhere, on the coast of Ireland, because they, they're big on fish on the coast there. They have plenty of seaweed and stuff like that. I think they would love it. But the Irish would really like it. I'm not sure they'd be big on using sticks to eat their food, but maybe I could get them into that too. So there you have it. We have a great use for our box plates. Little things like this, little seaweed rice fish wrap. Definitely you should try it.